The Awakening. The Vexari Dominion had ruled the Orion Arm for 3 centuries, their crystalline ships a constant reminder of humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy. Since first contact 80 years ago, the Terran Confederation had been reduced to a client state, providing resources and labor to fuel the Dominion's expansion. Humans were tolerated for their adaptability and endurance, qualities that made them excellent miners, farmers, and factory workers across a dozen colony worlds. Grand Admiral Zix Tar stood on the command deck of the Eternal Radiance, his translucent carapace reflecting the blue glow of nearby Earth. 6 slender appendages manipulated holographic controls as he reviewed the latest production reports. The numbers pleased him. Human productivity had increased by 12% in the last cycle. Humans are such curious creatures, he remarked to his second-in-command. Physically unimpressive, technologically primitive, yet remarkably persistent, a perfect labor species. Sub-Commander Vel Nera made a gesture of agreement, her faceted eyes scanning data streams. Indeed, Admiral. Though I must bring a concerning report to your attention. Our outpost on Proxima Centauri II has noted anomalies. Zixtar's interest sharpened. Anomalies. Several humans are displaying unexpected physiological changes. Workers who should not be able to lift more than 100 kilograms are moving heavy equipment without mechanical assistance. Others show heightened cognitive abilities or unexplainable energy signatures. The Admiral's appendages stilled. That is troubling. Isolated incidents. Initially, yes, but reports are increasing across 3 colony worlds. Increased surveillance and detainment of any aberrant humans, Zixtar ordered, and send our best xenobiologists. I want to understand what's happening. As the Vexari leadership contemplated this development, Dr. Elena Rice worked in her laboratory beneath the Martian colony of Eris Prime. At 42, she had spent half her life studying human genomics under Vexari oversight. The aliens valued her work, even if they limited her research directions. Today, however, she wasn't following Vexari protocols. The genetic samples in front of her had been smuggled from Proxima Centauri II, taken from miners who had begun displaying extraordinary abilities. Elena's dark eyes widened as she studied the results on her screen. "It's not possible," she whispered, running the analysis again. The results remained the same. The human genome was changing, not through conventional mutation, but through quantum entanglement effects in cellular mitochondria. It was as if the very building blocks of human cells were being rewritten by some unknown force. Helena encrypted her findings and sent them through a secure channel to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Wong, on Europa. As the only 2 human geneticists with access to advanced Vexari equipment, they had been discreetly sharing data for months. Marcus's reply came within hours. Similar changes detected in Europa fishery workers. Rate of transformation accelerating. Vexari scientists requesting access to my lab. We're running out of time. 3,000 kilometers away, in the Valles Marineris mining complex, Kai Chen loaded ore into a processing unit. At 29, he had spent 11 years in the mines, his once wiry frame now muscled from constant labor. Life under Vexari rule wasn't cruel, exactly. They'd provided adequate food, medical care, and even limited entertainment. But it was a life without agency or aspiration. As Kai finished his shift, a sharp pain lanced through his head. He stumbled, dropping his equipment. The pain intensified, vision blurring as he fell to his knees. Around him, the world seemed to slow, each dust particle hanging suspended in the dim light. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain vanished. Kai blinked, disoriented. Something was different. The air around him seemed alive with information. Temperature gradients, molecular compositions, electromagnetic fields, all somehow perceptible. He looked at the heavy ore cart he'd been pushing and felt its mass, its momentum, its potential energy as tangible qualities he could manipulate. Without fully understanding how, Kai reached out with his mind and pushed. The cart, weighing over 300 kilograms, slid forward as if propelled by an invisible force. "What the hell?" Kai whispered, staring at his hands. "Keep it hidden," came a voice behind him. Kai turned to see Sophia Dias, his supervisor. Her eyes held a knowing look. "You're not the only one changing. Meet us after curfew in Maintenance Tunnel B7. That night, Kai discovered he wasn't alone. 12 other miners had developed abilities ranging from telekinesis to accelerated healing. Sophia, their de facto leader, explained their theory. Prolonged exposure to exotic materials mined for Vexari quantum drives had triggered something dormant in human DNA. "The Vexari are already taking people away for testing," Sophia told the group. "We need to stay hidden until we understand what's happening to us." Across human space, similar scenes played out. On the agricultural world of New Eden, farmers discovered they could accelerate plant growth through touch. On Europa, aquaculture workers developed the ability to breathe underwater. On Luna, engineers found they could interface directly with technology, their thoughts controlling machinery. The Vexari Dominion responded with increasing alarm. Initial containment efforts gave way to more severe measures. Research facilities were established to study captured aberrants, and heightened surveillance was implemented across all human settlements. 6 weeks after his first manifestation, Kai sat in an abandoned maintenance shaft with Sophia and 20 others. Their numbers had grown as more miners awakened to their abilities. They had established a rudimentary communication network with other groups across Mars. "We received a transmission from Earth," Sophia announced. "A scientist named Alina Reyes has a theory about what's happening to us. The quantum materials we've been mining aren't just triggering changes. They're acting as catalysts for an evolutionary leap that was already encoded in our DNA." "Why now?" someone asked. "Reyes thinks it's a response to prolonged exposure to alien technology and environments. Our genes are adapting, giving us tools to survive." Kai considered this. "So what's our plan? We can't hide forever. Reyes is organizing a coordinated effort across all colonies. We need to gather our strength, understand our abilities, and prepare." "Prepare for what?" Kai asked, though he suspected the answer. Sophia's expression hardened. "Freedom." On the Vexari homeworld of Crystallis Prime, an emergency session of the Dominion Council convened. Grand Admiral Zix Tar presented the latest findings. "The human mutations are spreading exponentially," he reported. "Our scientists estimate that within one solar cycle, up to 30% of the human population may develop these anomalous abilities." High Counselor Zexval's crystalline form shimmered with concern. "Are they organizing?" "Evidence suggests coordinated resistance forming on multiple worlds. Our security forces have suppressed several incidents, but these humans are becoming increasingly difficult to contain. Their abilities are diverse and unpredictable." "And the cause?" another counselor asked. "Unclear. Initial theory suggested exposure to quantum materials, but the spread has accelerated beyond exposed populations. It appears to be activating dormant genetic potential." High Counselor Zexval rose, towering over the assembly. "The Dominion has encountered 17 species that develop dangerous evolutionary paths. In each case, swift action prevented threats to galactic stability." The implication hung in the chamber like a shadow. "You propose extinction?" Zix Tar asked cautiously. "I propose preservation of the cosmic order," Zexval corrected. "Humanity has been useful, but if they are evolving beyond our control, the protocol is clear." The Council voted. The decision was unanimous. Operation Stellar Cleans would commence in 30 days. On Mars, the first conflict erupted when Vexari security forces attempted to seize a group of manifested miners. What should have been a routine detention became a devastating display of human potential. Kai Chen, now capable of manipulating kinetic energy on a massive scale, led the resistance. Mining lasers meant for cutting rock were redirected by telekinetic shields. Vexari's stun weapons malfunctioned in the hands of their users as humans with technopathic abilities rewrote their operating systems remotely. The Valles Marineris uprising lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the Vexari outpost lay in ruins, and 300 liberated miners gathered to plan their next move. Similar uprisings occurred across human settlements. On Luna, the Vexari diplomatic compound was seized intact, providing access to the Dominion's communication network. For the first time, humans across different worlds could coordinate directly, bypassing Vexari sensors. The message that spread through this network was simple: humanity was awakening. Evolution had provided the tools. Now they needed to use them before the Vexari responded with overwhelming force. Dr. Elena Reyes, now emerged from her hidden laboratory, became a central figure in the resistance. Her understanding of the mutations helped newly manifested humans control their abilities. More importantly, she presented evidence of what was coming. The Vexari Council has authorized our extinction, she told resistance leaders during an encrypted conference call. They're activating a weapon called the Nexus Array, a network of quantum resonance devices capable of targeting specific genetic patterns across vast distances. In other words, Kai Chen said, they can kill humans without damaging anything else. Valina nodded grimly. They've used it before on species they deem threats. How do we stop it? Sophia asked. The Array Control Center is aboard the Eternal Radiance, Admiral Zixtar's flagship. We have 30 days before it's fully operational. 30 days to save our species, Kai said quietly. The resistance organized with remarkable speed. Humans across a dozen worlds uniting in purpose. Those with combat-applicable abilities trained alongside those with strategic or technical skills. The awakening continued to spread, each new manifestation bringing unique capabilities to the cause. As the Vexari scrambled to maintain control, humanity prepared for its greatest test, a direct assault on the heart of the Dominion's power. The first stage of evolution was complete. Now came the fight for survival. The resistance. 6 months after the first manifestations, humanity was unrecognizable, both to the Vexari and to themselves. What began as isolated incidents had cascaded into a species-wide transformation. Conservative estimates suggested 60% of humans had developed some form of enhanced ability, with new manifestations occurring daily. The Terran Confederation, once a puppet government serving Vexari interests, had been reconstituted as the Human Evolutionary Alliance. Its headquarters, hidden beneath the Olympus Mons caldera on Mars, buzzed with activity as representatives from every human settlement coordinated resistance efforts. In the central command chamber, Kai Chen stood before a holographic display of the Sol system. At 30, he had emerged as a field commander, his ability to manipulate kinetic energy making him a formidable fighter. More importantly, his tactical insight and natural leadership had united disparate resistance cells across Mars. The Vexari have withdrawn to defensive positions around Earth, Venus, and their major fleet bases, he explained to the assembled Leadership Council. They've abandoned outlying colonies, focusing on protecting their Nexus Array components. Dr. Elena Reyes, now serving as the Alliance's chief science advisor, studied the display with concern. Our intelligence suggests the array is nearly operational. We have perhaps 2 weeks before they can activate it. Then we move now, Sophia Dias declared. Now commander of the Alliance's Special Operations Division, she had developed the ability to manipulate light, rendering herself and others invisible to most detection methods. My teams are ready. The plan they had developed was audacious. A coordinated assault on multiple Vexari strongholds to divide their forces, while a strike team infiltrated the Eternal Radiance to disable the Nexus Array. Success would require precise timing and the full spectrum of humanity's new capabilities. The Vexari still outnumber us 10-1 in ships and weapons, Marcus Wong, head of intelligence, pointed out. Even with our abilities, a direct confrontation favors them, which is why we won't confront them directly, Kai responded. We've studied their tactics for 80 years. They expect overwhelming force and technological superiority. We'll give them neither. The attack began not with weapons, but with silence. Across the solar system, Vexary communication networks suddenly failed as humans with technopathic abilities infiltrated and disabled their quantum relays. Surveillance systems showed only normal operations, feeding false data to Vexary commanders. By the time Grand Admiral Zix Tar realized something was wrong, resistance forces had already penetrated the defensive perimeter around Earth. Not with battleships, but with small, stealthy craft piloted by humans who could interface directly with their navigation systems, achieving maneuvers no conventional pilot could execute. On the bridge of the Eternal Radiance, Zix Tar received contradictory reports from his commanders. Vexary outposts on Luna reported all clear, while orbital sensors detected unauthorized launches. Defense platforms around Venus stopped responding to command signals, yet continued to show as operational in the system. "We are being infiltrated at every level," the Admiral realized. "Activate emergency protocols. Divert all power to the Nexus array. Even if we lose tactical control, we can still execute stellar cleans." Across the command deck, Vexary officers rushed to comply, their crystalline appendages manipulating control surfaces with practiced precision. Security teams formed defensive positions around critical systems. None noticed the slight distortion in the air near the main engineering console. Sophia Diaz and her infiltration team, bending light around themselves to remain invisible even to the Vexary's multi-spectrum vision. On Mars, Kai led the diversionary attack, a frontal assault on the Vexary garrison at Eris Prime. Under normal circumstances, attacking the heavily fortified position would have been suicide. But as Vexary defense systems locked onto the approaching human forces, they found their targeting systems inexplicably inverted, missiles turning back on their launchers. Humans with gravity manipulation abilities created localized distortion fields, causing Vexary soldiers to fall helplessly to the ground under 5 or 6 times normal gravity. Others with pyrokinetic abilities superheated the aliens' crystalline armor from within, turning their protection into a liability. Similar scenarios played out across human space. Not pitched battles, but precise strikes exploiting the unique abilities of evolved humans against Vexary weaknesses. A telepathic network connected resistance leaders across vast distances, allowing real-time coordination impossible with conventional communications. Aboard the Eternal Radiance, Sophia's team reached the Nexus Array Control Chamber. Using a captured officer's access codes, they bypassed the initial security systems. Inside, Vexary scientists worked frantically to prepare the array for activation. "Genetic targeting parameters locked," one announced. "Resonance frequency calibrated to human DNA markers, awaiting final authorization." Sophia gave the signal. Her team dropped their light-bending camouflage, appearing suddenly among the startled Vexary. The ensuing fight was brief but intense. Vexary security responded with crystalline energy weapons, firing pulses that could disintegrate organic matter on contact. But the humans had evolved beyond such vulnerabilities. One resistance fighter absorbed the energy blasts, channeling them back at the attackers. Another created localized time distortions, slowing the Vexary to a crawl while the humans moved at normal speed. Within minutes, Sophia's team had secured the chamber. Dr. Elena Reyes, who had insisted on joining the mission despite the danger, immediately began accessing the array controls. "Their technology is more advanced, but the principles are universal," she muttered, her fingers dancing across alien interfaces. "The array works by creating a quantum resonance field tuned to specific genetic patterns. It's elegant in a genocidal sort of way." "Can you disable it?" Sophia asked, keeping watch on the sealed entrance. Elena's expression hardened. "Better. I can retune it." On the bridge, Admiral Zix Tar received the alert he had been dreading. Humans had breached the array control room. He immediately ordered the ship's automated defense systems activated, sealing bulkheads and flooding compromised sections with paralytic gas. "Prepare my personal guard," he commanded. "We will retake the control room ourselves." "Admiral," his second-in-command interjected, "sensors detect multiple human craft approaching. Our outer defenses have been compromised." Zix Tar's crystalline form pulsed with rage. How is this possible? They are primitives, barely a century into space travel. They are not the primitives we subjugated, came the reply. They are evolving before our eyes. The Admiral moved to the central command interface. Then we have no choice. Initialize the array with current targeting parameters. We may not eliminate all of them, but we will stop this insurrection. His appendage hovered over the activation control. Before it could make contact, the entire ship shuddered violently. Emergency alerts blared across all decks. What now? Zix-Tar demanded. Something is approaching. Massive energy signature. Impossible velocity. The tactical display showed a single contact moving toward the eternal radiance at speeds that defied conventional physics. As it drew closer, visual scanners revealed a human figure, Kai Chen, surrounded by a corona of kinetic energy so intense it registered as a small star on Vexari sensors. Having used his evolved abilities to launch himself from Mars directly to the flagship's position, Kai now aimed himself like a missile at the vessel's primary power core. Evasive maneuvers, Zix-Tar ordered, but it was too late. The impact sent catastrophic energy surges through the ship's systems. Power flickered, artificial gravity failed, and for a crucial moment, the bridge crew lost control of the vessel. In that moment, Alina Reyes completed her work. The Nexus array, designed to target human genetic patterns, had been recalibrated to recognize Vexari crystalline DNA structures instead. It's done, she told Sophia as the ship stabilized. But we need the Admiral's authorization to activate it. Their security requires command-level genetic authentication. Then we get the Admiral, Sophia replied, checking the ship's internal sensors, and it looks like he's coming to us. Admiral Zix-Tar led a squadron of elite guards through the damaged corridors of his flagship, determined to reclaim the array control room. They encountered Kai Chen at a junction, his body still radiating kinetic energy from his impossible journey through space. Your resistance is impressive but futile, Zix-Tar stated, his translator rendering his crystalline vibrations into human language. The Dominion spans thousands of worlds. You cannot hope to prevail. Kai regarded the Admiral calmly. We don't need to defeat your entire Dominion. Just you. The Admiral's guards raised their weapons. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. Am I? Kai smiled. Before the Vexari could fire, the corridor around them seemed to twist, reality itself bending as humans with space-time manipulation abilities created localized distortions. Guards found themselves facing each other instead of their targets, confusion disrupting their formations. Kai used the distraction to close the distance to Zix-Tar, channeling kinetic energy through his strike. The Admiral's crystalline armor, capable of withstanding conventional weapons, cracked under the impact. Impossible, Zix-Tar gasped, staggering backward. No, Kai replied. Evolution. The battle that followed tested the limits of both species' capabilities. Vexari technology and discipline against human adaptation and ingenuity. But with each exchange, the balance shifted further toward humanity. Those who months ago had been simple miners and farmers now commanded forces that the Vexari could barely comprehend, much less counter. Wounded and cornered, Admiral Zix-Tar was finally brought before the array control interface, Sophia's team holding him in place. You still need me, he noted, observing the recalibrated array settings. Your plan requires my genetic authorization. True, Elena acknowledged. But we've evolved beyond your understanding in more ways than one. She nodded to a young woman who stepped forward, placing her hands on either side of the Admiral's crystalline head. A telepath, capable of not just reading thoughts, but extracting and replicating neural patterns. This will be unpleasant, she told the Admiral, before closing her eyes in concentration. Moments later, she removed her hands and placed them on the control interface. The system responded to her touch as if to Zix-Tar himself, accepting the authentication and activating the protocol. Throughout the flagship, then across the fleet, and finally reaching every Vexari outpost in human space, the modified Nexus array sent its quantum resonance wave, not killing, but changing, altering Vexeri physiology at the subatomic level, disrupting their crystalline structure just enough to render their advanced weapons and ships temporarily inoperable. In that moment of vulnerability, human forces secured total victory. The Dominion fleet, paralyzed and defenseless, had no choice but to surrender. 3 days later, in the Grand Council chamber of the Eternal Radiance, now renamed Human Ascendant, representatives of both species met to negotiate terms. The Vexeri delegation, led by a subdued Zix-Tar, faced the Human Evolutionary Alliance's Leadership Council. The terms are straightforward, Kai Chen stated. Immediate withdrawal of all Vexeri forces from human space, recognition of human sovereignty, technology transfer as reparations for 80 years of exploitation. And in return, Zix-Tar asked. Peace, Alina Reyes replied. We could destroy your species with the very weapon you created to destroy us. Instead, we offer coexistence. The Admiral's crystalline form shimmered with what humans now recognized as thoughtful consideration. You have evolved beyond our projections, he acknowledged. The Dominion has never encountered a species capable of such rapid adaptation. We were always capable, Sophia interjected. You just gave us the catalyst we needed. And what happens now? Zix-Tar asked. Your evolution continues. What will humanity become? Kai exchanged glances with his fellow council members before answering. That's for us to determine. But one thing is certain. The galaxy isn't ready for what humanity will become. We suggest you prepare your Dominion for a new era of cooperation rather than subjugation. As the treaty was formalized, Alina Reyes studied her latest genetic scans from across human populations. The quantum mutations were still spreading, still adapting, unlocking potential that had been dormant in human DNA for millennia. This wasn't just evolution. It was transformation on a scale unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity had awakened, and the universe would never be the same.